You gear up, jacket, helmet, gloves. Nobody watching, nobody waiting. You throw a leg over the seat, thumb the ignition, and feel that engine wake up underneath you. No destination, no timeline, just you, the road, and however many miles it takes until your head goes quiet. Nobody told you to go, nobody knows you left, and somehow that's exactly the point. If that sounds familiar, you're not running away, you're not reckless, and you're definitely not lonely. But there is something specific happening inside the mind of a person who chooses to ride alone that most people will never understand. Because solo riders carry a rare set of psychological traits that researchers are only beginning to map, and some of them will completely change how you see yourself. Here's the lie you've been told your entire life. Doing things alone means you couldn't find anyone to come with you. That real experiences need witnesses, that if you'd rather ride solo than wait for a group to agree on a route, there's something a little sad about that. Car culture rewards the road trip crew. Social media rewards the pack ride photos. Even motorcycle communities can make solo riding feel like a phase you grow out of once you find your people. And at some point, you probably wondered if they had a point. Maybe you should want company more than you do. But psychology says the opposite. So before we get into the traits, forget everything culture taught you about what a rider is supposed to look like. Trait 1. Your brain actively seeks controlled risk. In 2012, neuroscientist Marvin Zuckerman at the University of Delaware published findings from decades of research on what he called sensation seeking. Not recklessness, not self-destruction, something far more specific. Certain brains, he found, require a higher threshold of stimulation to feel fully present. Not chaos, not danger for danger's sake, but a precise edge where focus becomes total and everything irrelevant falls away. Now think about you. The moment you merge onto an open highway alone, something shifts. Your peripheral vision sharpens, your breathing slows. Your mind, which spent all week ricocheting between tasks and noise and other people's needs, suddenly has one job: stay present. Everything else dissolves. That's not adrenaline addiction. Psychologists call it optimal arousal seeking. Your brain doesn't feel alive in the middle, it feels alive at the edge, where the stakes are just high enough to demand everything you have. Think of it like a camera lens that only focuses when the light is right. Most environments are too flat to trigger it. The road alone gives your brain exactly the contrast it needs to finally lock in. And that connects directly to something even more revealing. Trait 2. You process emotion through motion. Tell me if this sounds right. Something heavy happens, a conversation that went wrong, a decision you can't stop replaying, a feeling you can name but can't seem to move through. And the thing that actually helps isn't talking about it, it's writing. Not distracting yourself from it, moving through it. There's a difference. Psychologist Peter Lovett at the University of Hertfordshire spent years studying the relationship between physical movement and emotional processing. His research found that rhythmic, repetitive motion activates the brain's problem-solving networks in ways that sitting still simply cannot replicate. Your body knows this. Every solo ride you've taken after a hard week wasn't escapism. Your nervous system was doing exactly what it needed to do. The vibration, the rhythm of the road, the constant minor adjustments your hands and body make without conscious thought. That's not distraction, that's integration. The people who told you to talk it out weren't wrong, they just didn't know your nervous system processes language differently than most. It processes through the body first. Trait 3. You have an unusually high tolerance for uncertainty. Most people plan to feel safe. They need to know the route, the weather, the estimated arrival time, the backup option. Uncertainty isn't just uncomfortable for them, it's a low-grade threat the brain works overtime to eliminate. You ride alone into roads you've never been on, with a general direction and a half tank of gas. And something about that feels correct. Researcher Ari Kruglanski at the University of Maryland spent decades studying what he called need for cognitive closure. The need for a definite answer over ambiguity. Most people score high. They want the plan sealed before they move. Solo riders consistently show something different. Not carelessness, not impulsivity, a genuine psychological comfort with open outcomes. Your brain doesn't interpret the unknown road as a threat, it reads it as information arriving in real time, and you trust yourself to respond when it does. Think of it like navigation. Most people need the full route loaded before they leave. You're comfortable watching the next turn appear as you reach it. Same destination, completely different relationship with uncertainty. And that trait runs deeper than riding. It shows up in how you make decisions, how you handle change, how you respond when life doesn't follow the plan. You don't freeze, you adjust, and you do it alone. But we need to stop here, because there is something important that has to be said. Everything I just described is true, but only if you're honest about what the ride is actually doing for you. Because there are two versions of riding alone. One is a person who is completely whole, choosing solitude because the road is where they feel most like themselves. The other is a person using miles to stay ahead of something they haven't looked at yet. One is a practice, the other is a pattern. If your solo rides leave you feeling clearer, more present, more yourself, stay with me. If you notice that you only feel okay while moving, and the moment you stop the engine, the weight comes back exactly as heavy, that might be worth sitting with. Not judging, just noticing. Because the next two traits only work when the foundation is solid. Trait 4. Your self-trust is structurally different. When something goes wrong on a solo ride, and eventually something always does, there is no one to look at, no one to ask, no one to split the decision with. It's just you, the situation, and whatever you're made of. And you already know what happens. You handle it. Psychologist Albert Bandura at Stanford spent his career studying what he called self-efficacy. Not confidence in the generic motivational poster sense, something more specific, the deep, evidence-based belief that you can figure out what the situation requires and do it. Every solo ride builds that. Every time you navigated something unexpected without a safety net, your brain logged it. You came through, again and again, until self-reliance stopped being something you had to remind yourself of and became simply how you operate. The people in your life have probably noticed this without having words for it. You don't panic the way others do. You don't need reassurance the same way. Not because you're emotionally shut down, because you've spent thousands of miles proving to yourself, quietly, with no audience, that you can be trusted. Trait 5. You understand the difference between alone and lonely. Most people treat solitude like a waiting room, something to get through until the next social event, the next message, the next sign that somebody is thinking about them. Being alone without stimulation triggers a low hum of anxiety they can't quite name. You know the difference. Alone on a road you've never ridden before, no signal on your phone, nothing but wind and asphalt and your own thinking. You are not waiting for anything. You are not missing anything. You are, in a way that is genuinely rare, completely here. Psychologist Christopher Long at Transylvania University studied what he called positive solitude, the ability to be alone without loneliness, without the compulsion to fill the silence. His research found that people who had developed this capacity showed higher levels of emotional stability, stronger sense of personal identity, and deeper satisfaction in their relationships, precisely because they didn't need those relationships to feel okay. Your small circle isn't a failure of connection, it's evidence of your standard. Now zoom out. A brain that seeks the precise edge where focus becomes total, a nervous system that processes emotion through motion, a mind that trusts the unknown road to reveal itself. Self-reliance built mile by mile with no audience, and the rare ability to be completely alone without being lonely. That's not a collection of personality quirks, that's an entirely different relationship with yourself. And the tragedy is that most people who carry all of this spend years apologizing for it. Too independent, too internal, too comfortable in their own company. Because nobody ever told them that the way they're wired isn't a limitation, it's the whole architecture. The world will keep asking you why you didn't invite anyone. People will keep suggesting group rides with that particular tone, as if riding alone is a problem that needs solving. But somewhere past the last traffic light, somewhere on a road that doesn't know your name, you already know something they don't. You know what you sound like when everything else finally goes quiet.